most people? Why do most people find it hard to ask questions in the first place? Is it okay to keep asking questions?
Yes.
It is, isn't it? There's nothing wrong with it. But why do people consider it, oh, no, you're a bit rude? Can't keep asking questions. Why do people have a fear of asking questions?
Fear of exposing their ignorance about a particular
Fear of
subject.
exposing ignorance. Luckily, I don't have that fear, otherwise I could never get up, right? Fear of not knowing what they're talking about. But who gives you the fear? Who gives you the fear of rejection for asking questions? See, I call this, when I'm doing on my major program, I call this the Matrix module. I really, those of you who've seen the film, like red pill, blue pill, like the world beneath the world sort of thing, what's really going on. A lot of people are scared of asking too many questions, scared of that rejection, because they're in what I call the Matrix, where you can't ask questions and be free. You have to do as you're told. Theirs is not to question why, theirs is about to do and die. Charge of the line brigade. So who was the first person to tell you to stop asking so many questions? Your parents. Because what happened? How did that situation come across?
It was stupid questions, and they were annoying people.
There were stupid questions? And have you got children? Little ones? 3 or 4? How old are yours? 5. Is he or she asking questions? Excellent. And so you get this scenario, if you wouldn't mind role playing. I want a chocolate biscuit, you don't want to give it to me.
Why?
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 Why? Daddy, can I have a chocolate biscuit?
Why?
Now, you're not supposed to ask me. That comes later.
But that is.
But really, it's why. The child goes, why? Adult goes,
No.
effectively says, no, you can't have a chocolate biscuit. Why? It's not good for you. Child goes, why is it not good for me? And eventually, what happens? Father or mother says what? One of 2 things happens, generally. Do as I say, stop asking so many questions, or what's the other option?
Here's the biscuit.
Here's the biscuit. God. Or the third one, which generally happens with men. Go and ask your mother. So you, as a child, you're told, don't ask, stop asking so many questions, or don't ask silly questions. Is it a silly question? Why can't I have a chocolate biscuit?
It's a tactic to some degree, isn't it?
Oh, well, who's in control of the conversation?
The child.
The child. So, to control conversations, which is a great objective for a salesperson, or public speaker, isn't it? How do you control conversations?
Ask questions.
Asking questions. Okay. But your parents don't want you asking questions, do they? All the time. Because what do you want as a parent, occasionally?
Peace.
Peace and quiet and watch EastEnders. But the child keeps asking questions. Why? 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 But why do I have to? Oh, right, it's bedtime now. But why do I have to go to bed? They don't want to go to bed. They want to control the situation. That's what's going on. So, eventually, you get to leave the home during the day and go somewhere where you can ask all the questions you want, can't you?
In theory.
In theory, in other words, school. Can you ask all the questions you want at school?
No.
Can't, can you? I was in terrible trouble throughout my school life because I kept asking the teacher, why were we learning about Henry VIII, for example? And the teacher saw that as a what? What do you think he saw that as, Monica? If I was being rude? But was it a rude question to ask the teacher, why are we learning about Henry VIII? It's not, is it? It's a good reason. I want to know why. If he'd have said, okay, Adam, I appreciate you want to learn about why we have to learn about Henry VIII. However, the lesson plan is such that I'm going to be going through it today. So what I'd like you to do is to bear with me for a few minutes and then we'll see. Would that be okay? And I'd gone, yeah, all right. But no, he said, ask me another question, Caplan, and you'll be in detention. Any guesses for what I then said?
Why?
Why? Why would you do that? He went, detention, one more and you're off to the headmaster. The next question, why are you picking on me? Straight to the headmaster. Happened a lot. Wouldn't not ask questions. But if you want to control conversations, as a, when you're dealing with a customer, don't you have to ask questions? You've got to make it what you do for a living. But most people find selling hard because it's not just the rejection of a customer saying no that hurts. It's the history, because society wants you not to ask questions.
But isn't it a question of asking the right questions?
Okay, what happens if you ask the wrong question?
You look foolish.
Not necessarily. What happens if you ask the wrong... Whoops. I didn't have any wine even. Right? What happens if I ask the wrong question?
You get an answer.
Well, what sort of answer will I
An
get?
answer you can't deal with.
In other words, if you ask the wrong question, very simply you're going to get the what sort of answer. If you say to someone too early in the conversation, would you like to go ahead? What answer are you inviting?
No.
No. In other words, you get the wrong answer. So if you ask the right question, the objective is to get the...
The right answer.
Okay? So it's about asking the right questions to help people make the right buying
But
decision.
sometimes people are afraid of asking because they don't believe in the product.
That's a different kettle of fish. If you don't believe in the product that you're working with, work somewhere else.
If you're doing telesales, there's a 99% chance it's not a good product. Because if it was, you wouldn't be selling it in that way.
I work
That's, I think,
with...
a lot of the problem of people doing telesales. They don't believe in the
Well,
product.
I
and there's a
work,
good reason for that.
I work with
Because you know about it.
very, very large multinationals who use telemarketing as a way of getting through to a lot of their customers to help confirm their previous orders, particularly in the legal business. The best products in the world. Absolute Tollies, Butterworths, we're talking about the creme de la creme. And the way that they promote the product after they've done email shop, after they've done physical mail shop, is to follow up and say, I'd like to confirm your order for last year, to do it as a service. It's telemarketing. If it's a bad product, I agree with you. But then I don't think people who are trying to sell something they don't believe in aren't selling. They're conning people. That's not selling. If you believe in what you're doing, it should shine through. I love what I do. This will help you. Make you feel better, as I said before. Make people feel good. And if you really believe in what you're doing, that should do that. Inga, doing what you're doing, does it help people?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
I'm going to get yeses all around, aren't I? I hope. So, how could someone find out, how could you find out what your client, what's the right question to ask your client? Whatever it is. Whatever you're selling, when I talk to my clients, particularly if I'm talking about sales growth, I'll say, before we start, what I'd like to do is find out, what do you want to get out of sales training program? They'll tell me. It's okay. And I'll keep asking questions. How would you like me to go ahead? How much time and effort do you want to put into this? How much of an investment do you want to make into your sales team to grow it? What do you think the problems are? How would you solve those problems? Etc, etc, etc. Like a lot of the coaching stuff that you will do. But we're scared of asking, sometimes we're scared of asking the questions because we get the bad answers. Because we're told, don't ask so many questions. Because our parents were giants compared to us. We were this big. They were twice our height, 4 times our weight, with a bigger reach. They intimidated us. No wonder we stopped asking questions. They gave us our food and clothing, and yet we still ask questions. Now, just those of you who've got children, did any of you teach your children, or have you taught your children to say please? Yeah? Good? Teach your children to say thank you? Excellent. Did anyone teach their children to say why? No, I don't know where they get it from. Because it hasn't come from anywhere. No one says, now listen to what you've got to do, Johnny. When Daddy says to you, no, you can't have a chocolate biscuit, what I want you to come back with is, why can't I have a chocolate biscuit? And then I will go and tell you, and you can keep asking why. Would that be okay, Johnny? And they learn it, and what's scary is they learn it before they go to school. I'm still to find out where they really learn it from. Because half of me thinks it's a question that is part of us. One of the first things we start doing is asking why. The reason that we're here in this room and not picking ticks off each other and looking for bits of bamboo to eat is because we vocalise and say why. how. How do we do this? Why do we do this? Why does the sun come up? And questions like that. That's how fundamental the question why and questions are to the development of humankind. And yet, if you think about it, your parents tell you to stop asking questions so they can control you. At school, you can't ask unlimited questions because they control you. And when you go to school, what is your objective? To learn? What do you want to come out of school with?
Education.
Education, but in particular,
Qualification.
a qualification. And how do you get that qualification? Well, how do you get the qualification? It's a result of you passing what? And what are exams? Questions asked by them. You have to answer. You are rewarded at school. Put your hand up. Get the answer right. Well done. Like in Harry Potter, Hermione Granger. 5 points for Gryffindor. Well done. And what happens when you're at school, when you're not paying any attention, and you're mucking around and drawing pictures? What does a teacher do to take control of you and humiliate you? Asks you a question that you don't what? Know the answer to. Making us feel even worse about questions. Because, no wonder people find it hard to stand up in public speaking when they're children, the teachers are saying to you, John, what did I just say? And you go, I don't know, and everyone laughs. That is shame and humiliation. And when you leave school, eventually, what do you want to do when you leave school?
Get a job.
Get a job. So in order to get a job, you have to pass what sort of meeting?
Interview.
An interview. And how do you pass an interview?
Answer questions.
Answer the questions. If you go in the army, what happens in basic training? What happens for 6 weeks? What are you told not to do? What's the objective of basic training in the army?
Follow orders.
Follow orders. Without what?
Question.
Without question. Can you imagine? Let's take that hill. Sarge, what is it, Kowalski? Why do we have to take that hill? Well, because we do. But why do? Can you imagine? We wouldn't get anywhere. And how old in civilization is an army? Armed forces. Very, very old. PG, you do as I say, you follow me without question. What happens if you question the leader in those days?
Authority breaks down.
Yeah.
In the army phase.
And you lose your head if he's bigger than you. That whole thing of questioning authority. When the police stop you, they'll ask you what speed you are doing. You don't generally say, why are you stopping me? Haven't you got better things to do? Which is the truth that we want to say. Sorry, I'm really sorry. In interrogation, in war films, we ask the questions. That whole concept of control. So really, if you're going to sell and control, what do you need to do? Inga, what do you need to do to really to control a conversation? To ask questions, yeah? And when someone asks you a question, John, was it Fassa?
Faraz.
Faraz, sorry. Faraz, when someone asks you a question, what do you want to do?
Give an answer.
Give an answer, okay? So I'd always say that the first step, when asked, but acknowledge, I heard what you said, I put it over there, and then I took control by acknowledging and then doing what? Eventually, what did I do?
Ask the question.
Ask another question, where I wanted it to go. And often, what I'd say is ask a question related to the first one, to show that that's, you know, if someone says, how much longer is this going to go on for? So, okay, I understand I've been talking for about an hour. However, can I ask you, do you have a limited time? Do you need me to finish shortly? I'm in control still.